Hi there. I want to give you a few important pointers on the chapter on perspectives. In this chapter, you don't really have to focus on a lot of different pieces of information. When you're studying, you want to emphasize psychoanalysis, behaviorism, and humanism. Those are the three perspectives that will be most heavily represented on the exam, and they build a foundation for some important ideas that we will be discussing later on in this semester. Okay? So let me just tell you a few things about psychoanalysis. It is an approach, it is a perspective on psychology. It is also an approach to treatment that we'll talk about at the end of the semester that was developed by Sigmund Freud, who was an Austrian neurologist. And he observed in some of his patients that the symptoms they presented with didn't really make neurological sense, and he started having some ideas about the psychological underpinnings of some of these physical and sometimes emotional problems that his patients were presenting with. And he developed this really important idea of the unconscious, which includes the feelings, desires, urges, and wishes that we are unaware of, that they are not accessible to our conscious mind. And typically that happens because we have learned during our childhood especially that these topics or feelings or urges and desires are not acceptable. Okay, so the two things he emphasized were the unconscious and childhood experiences because they were considered to be very important in the development both of personality and psychological disorders. The second on the list is humanism. Humanism is a very positive field of psychology that was developed in the mid 1900s, and the two prominent figures in humanism are Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. I want to just mention a few things about sort of the approach to psychology from that perspective. That perspective is highly positive and emphasizes a human potential to grow and thrive. It de-emphasizes that we are sick or psychologically disturbed and emphasizes the focus on needs that we need to fulfill in order to grow and develop into potentially self-actualized human beings, as Abraham Maslow argued. And we will come back to this theory as we will come back to psychoanalysis in the future, but I just wanted to lay the foundation with a few basics. The last perspective that you want to be familiar with is behaviorism. That is basically a very interesting approach in psychology because it's rooted in science. So behaviorists were primarily scientists who were interested in studying that which they could observe. So we cannot really observe the unconscious, and hence that was not of any interest to behaviorists. They focused on observable behavior. That's sort of a key term here, that they focused on that which they could see and measure, such as observable behavior. And there are different branches of behaviorism. One, we will talk about them later on again in the semester, but one branch emphasizes the idea of consequences and how they shape human behavior. Those consequences would be reinforcement or punishment, and they would result either in increasing the occurrence of a behavior or decreasing the occurrence of a given behavior. So that about sums it up. I just wanted to give you a few basic pieces of information. Again, you don't have to focus a whole lot on the other topics in the chapter on perspectives, and please make sure you follow instructions and answer any potential questions that are associated with this video. Thank you for your time and attention.